With more than 25 years of experience building software products, we know the difficulties of creating the apps you use every day. This show seeks to evaluate and build up popular tools used by many by offering our critique of the design and user experience, and our suggestions on how to improve them. So I'm Federico Ramasho. I've been software engineers for many years, entrepreneurs, and we have with us Lino. Hello, Lino. How are you doing today?
Hi, Federico. Doing well. I'm a designer, graphic designer, and now product designer for over 15 years. And we also have with us Alejandro Romero.
Hello, I'm Alejandro Romero. I'm a product designer. Glad to be here.
Great. Welcome, Lino. Welcome, Alejandro. It's great to have you here. So before we start, I want to say that these are our personal opinions. We're not affiliated with any of the companies whose products we review, and we run this program on our behalf. Our goal is to examine products for educational and entertainment purposes. So today we are going to talk about the TechCrunch app. So let's start about what are the things that they did well, okay? So one of the things that they did well is that even though it was a lot of people on the venue, the speed of the application was great. It never we never had an issue with the speed. The other thing that I like a lot, I attended the conference and I was able to experience the application firsthand. Is the connect button. I recorded a video of how that works. We'll share it with you as well. But basically, you have, the cards have a little electronic box, and you press a button, and it allows you to share your information with the other person, right? So it allows you to make a connection very quickly, very easy, right? Compared to a scanner or other tools, right?
I have a quick question, Federico. For those that aren't familiar with it, what is TechCrunch?
So TechCrunch, it's a conference that's usually held in the Bay Area, and it's about startups. They do a startup battle. They select the best 20 companies from thousands and thousands. So they connect startups with VCs, they share what they're doing, and they also have a lot of speakers that talk about about how to run different startups, right? And they share their experiences. So it's a very crowded event.
So it sounds like it was a great place to do a lot of connections, but then it seems like that's where some of the good and some of the bad happen, which is what we're going to talk about, right?
So the thing is, there's so much people that you get sensory overload, right? The conference takes place in San Francisco downtown, and it's a huge place. I don't remember the name of the place, but I'll look it up. And you have like 3 or 4 floors with different events. They're happening simultaneously, so it's very crowded. But yeah, it's a great place to make connections, to learn about what's new on the startup world, right? And I've seen, a lot of different startups, from a company that is growing. They're growing chicken meat from eggs, to startups that are doing, or companies that are doing space technology, to software companies. I met some folks that are running e-commerce on Uzbekistan. I hope I pronounced that correctly. So yeah, very interesting place. Yeah.
So I guess with that introduction out the way, we can jump into the app, because you had mentioned while using it, you had we'll start with the positive. There were a few things that you liked about how it works, and then we can work on, some of the things that maybe didn't go so great.
Right. Yeah. So I talk about the things that I liked, but there were a few things that I didn't like. So, usually installing an app takes a little bit of time, but that's fine. Usually that's become more normal. But after you install the app, what I would expect is a faster load time. The speed that I mentioned before is on the usage of the application, right? But the loading time. So when you get into the application, you get an image with the event and then a loading. So it's like you want to get the information and it's loading something or showing you an animation for whatever reason, right? So that for me was painful, where you were trying to connect and do the things you're trying to do, right? So that was one of the things that I didn't like. The other thing that I didn't like is the use of this. I call them tabs. I don't know if that's the correct term, so correct me, Lino. But you have home, partners, Kilk, exhibitors, and then if you click here, you have the agenda, speakers, and side events, right? So what happens is that if you browse into one of these, right, and then you go there, then when you go back to the you want to go to another tab, then you kind of it doesn't allow you to like switch between tabs. So sometimes you want to you want to see if you have a connection, you want to see the schedule, right? So it's very difficult to switch back and forth, right? So that was one of the issues that I had with those tabs, right? The other issue that we had is that let's say it's you're on second day of the conference and it's 8:45 a.m. So it doesn't show you that you're currently in this time. So it was, even if it was in the evening of the 28th, it will go to the beginning of the day. So then you have to scroll back. Oh, you see, now you have the animation again. So you have to scroll down, to the evening, and then you'll need to go to see what time right now is a new conference, right? The way that Outlook solved that is they have a red line during the day strip, so you can see where you are during the day, right? So that's one of the things that it got old pretty quickly to go, to scroll through the schedule to see what are the events that are happening right now, right? And then the third, well, before we move on, I'll continue discussing the things that I think should be improved. Mm-hmm. And then the third thing that I didn't like is the use of the side events. So if you go to the side events, right, you would have to basically will show you a list of side events. Similar issue with the schedule. If you are on the first day, then you have to scroll down, right? Which I kind of understand, but then these registration forms, they go to different, each side event have their own, registration form, right? So when you click on one of these, now you have a browser within a browser. So now, if you want to sign up, now you have to fill in all this information, right? And now it's, if you go back to other tab and then you go back to the side events, boom, you're at the beginning, right? So it becomes an issue, or if you close, move to another application, come back, it reloads again, right? So you have to be very careful of filling in the registration form very quickly without going anywhere. So that was a little bit bad user experience in my opinion, right? So yeah, those are things that I didn't quite like about this application, right? What are your thoughts, Lino?
Well, I noticed that the trend, let's call it a trend of the main concerns is not keeping track of where you are and where you've been. So that seems to be the biggest issue is, like you said, with Outlook, you have a timeline to let you know where you are. I also know of a similar app that tries to synchronize where you're at, so it puts older things kind of, disabled in the past, so you can still view them if you really wanted to, but it tries to keep you up to date. But I've had similar issues where it doesn't always refresh at the right time, so sometimes your actual meeting is like further down and it's showing you something older if it didn't, hit that refresh cycle at the right time. So I understand that pain point, and I know that sometimes it can be a little tricky to, what is the best way to show you something while letting you see the history. But I definitely agree that it's frustrating for something that's supposed to be, you're at a live event and this is for that set event, and it's not telling you, hey, don't forget, that really important conference you wanted to have. It's like, it's starting right now, so, move your butt, versus having to scroll and be like, what time is it right now? Where is this conference happening? Et cetera, et cetera. Like, I get definitely get the frustration for that. Though, in general, just to clarify, we're not trashing the app. Like, there's a lot of good that it does. It's a nice app. It's pretty well done, and it's showing everything. Like you said, the tabs. That's also something that depends on the user, or rather the people making the app. Sometimes you have that more button because you don't want to have horizontal scrolling. Though on mobile, that's not as much of an issue. It is an issue on desktop because very few people have a way to do horizontal scroll unless you're on a laptop or have like a magic mouse. A lot of people have scroll wheels, so a lot of scroll wheels don't go left to right, which is why we want to avoid horizontal scrolling. But in this case, maybe it would have been just better that instead of hiding it within a more menu, because it seems like it's something you're actively clicking, especially for agenda, then maybe it should have just been part of the horizontal scroll so that you don't have to click twice to find the thing. And maybe that could also help with just keeping it loaded. So when you hit side events, you stay wherever you were scrolled instead of having to click on it, open it again, like if it were a new page, and starting over from the top right. I definitely get that frustration. Again, this is something that I do want to highlight because we've worked on a lot of apps and we've worked on these software, before throughout the years. It seems sometimes something as simple as why don't you just do it? But on the practical side, there's a lot of considerations of like, maybe it's not so easy because maybe, we'll have to worry about performance. Maybe the cache of the app, like we can't keep all these things in memory all the time. So maybe, we have to make some sacrifices of we can't memorize where you were. So maybe that's a downside. Or maybe we can apply some way to make a little marker in a sense to remember where you were so that when you come back to it, even though we dumped the cache for it and we have to load it over, we remember that place that you are so we can kind of keep your history. There's a lot of workarounds that could be done. But this is one of those where it can get tricky, where it just seems simple to just, say, oh, we'll just do it this way. But you also have to consider the tricky sides of the actual implementation.
Right. And usually you have a lot of trade-offs, right? So, if you put a lot of buttons, then you have accessibility issues to clicking all of them with with our big thumb, right? I remember we had those conversations on some UI at one point, right? We tried to crunch too much stuff in a small place, right? What we usually do is we do these explorations where we build different options and then we see how that look like and how would that work, right?
Mm-hmm. Alejandro, I wanted to ask you real quick because I know you were taking a look at this earlier. Is there anything else that comes to mind on improvements, enhancements, fixes, or just general thoughts on the app?
Yeah, I do feel that what most of UX misses or lacks is user testing, and also user testing on different situations. In this scenario specifically, I think that what will work is try this app with slow connections, because on these kind of events, you usually have a slow connection, and it's not less optimal to have all of these animations and videos. I think that it also has videos on the app. And so I think that this can disrupt, disrupt as the name, uh, the user experience of the attendees. And I do feel that having user testing on all of applications really helps out to build better products, because you're listening to the end user.
Yeah, which is something that's very important, and a lot of people think UX is just throw design at it and it'll work. But as a lot of people have pointed out, if you don't have users, you don't have user experience. You just have experience. So you need users, you need to keep them in mind, and that's something that I think we forget. I've seen it happen with designers and developers, that sometimes they just do the thing because they're like, okay, I need to solve what I think is a problem, and then they do it and they think they're done. And it's not until they actually start to use it that there is like all these problems start to come up of like, why didn't you do it this way? Why didn't blah, blah, blah? It's like, a lot of times you get those blinkers because you have like a deadline and you have just a target and just hit it. And that's all you're thinking about. And you're not considering, is this really solving the issue, or am I causing more problems by solving the issue that I thought was the right thing to solve?
Right. I used to build offline first applications and websites with, as you said, Alejandro, the connectivity issues, latency issues, and it is very difficult and very time consuming to do, right? There's so many situations where you actually need the connection, right? So it becomes hairy quickly. So I understand why, and with all the new, like the 5G and all these new, high-speed connections that keep getting better and better, that becomes less of an issue, right? But then, when the internet connection starts to fail, then, people start talking about the bad user experience, right? Of trying to click through and takes forever to load, right?
That's right. Well, hopefully with this, just wanted to close it out by saying, like, we want to clarify, we like TechCrunch, we like what they do, and hopefully this just starts that conversation. Hopefully for next year, they'll be able to make some improvements on the app and maybe other things that we may have missed that they have an eye on, because a lot of times it's not that they're not aware of these things. A lot of times, you have deadlines, you have to deliver, and that's the best you can do with the time. So hopefully this continues to improve, as well as, hopefully next year's conference is also greater, more interesting, because this is, these kinds of events are always awesome. They help everyone get to know each other, get you out of your little bubbles and see what's out there. So hopefully the experience next year is even better and even more connections can be made.
Yes, I've been going for, every year. I've been going to this conference, and it's amazing. Great staff, great speakers. They're giving opportunities to small startups to share what they're doing. So yeah, it's been overall a great experience. Yeah. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to click like and subscribe, and leave your suggestions in the comments for the next product you'd like to see reviewed. Sharing this episode greatly helps us to stay motivated and continue producing quality content for you to enjoy. Thank you very much.
Thank you.